This is NBN Network Media, news for OACs.
You know, the Senate passed 3%, that by process will go to harmonization. At the end of the day, the 3% carried the day. The House had done its own, and the rest was procedural. But what I want to say at this point on the PIB is Nigerians, again, I've always said that research. You can't circumvent the process. Research. PIB has been long. It's probably everybody agrees that we needed the PIB. They agreed 20 years ago, and they've been asking for it. Now, a landmark piece of legislation, PIB, now PIA, was passed by this government and this Ninth Assembly. Now, it's almost natural. That's the way I look at it. But unfortunate, natural but unfortunate, that some people would want to use the fact that an achievement was made by this government to discredit that achievement. I'll give you a good example, because you brought in the United States at one point during this interview as an example. Even in advanced democracies, you see that happen. The healthcare bill, Obamacare as they know it, was long time coming. No, the United States could not get the healthcare reform right. The Republicans could not, and then Obama came, and the Democrats did it. Till today, that piece of legislation, which is landmark in the United States, suffers a lot of criticism from the opposition. But meanwhile, it benefits the generality of the public. So sometimes politics will always come to play, will always come to bear. The PIB has come, it's a landmark achievement. It inherits the benefit of Nigerians. They leave one or two pieces. It's not there's no perfect document. One or two pieces of areas that people might disagree with can come up again for amendment, and it will come up, be subjected to debate. The public will have an opportunity to weigh in on the debate, and if it needs amendment, it will be amended. But to say that to take away from the PIB or now PIA is a little bit because of one provision, which, albeit a very important provision, is a bit ingenious. So you're disingenuous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so your colleagues who are criticizing it, that's what you tell them?
No. My colleagues will talk. That's not what I tell them.
But they are the ones who are airing these views.
Yeah.
And they feel bad about it. That their positions have not been, were not catered for. It does look like the agenda of the ruling APC.
Let me put it this way. When you talk about my colleagues who were criticizing it, the way the House is structured now, and that's just the reality of it, 90% of the opposition comes from a particular sector, particular part of Nigeria, and they are the oil-producing part of Nigeria. You cannot blame them. What they're doing is representing the interests of their people. They're doing the right thing. They are doing the right thing by opposing, by demanding 5% as opposed to 3%. Otherwise, it will be malpractice on their part if they did not raise the voice of opposition. You grab whatever you can get. You know, there's 3% and there's 5%. If I was from that part of the country or that region that was producing, I'll ask for the 5%. But then again, that is because there might be some also misunderstanding. So I don't know. I don't blame my colleagues. They did exactly what they're supposed to do as opposition.
That was not the only thing that got your colleagues angry. The issue of the Electoral Act amendment, in fact, got them more infuriated. Some of them burst out of the plenary, and they were protesting the position. It caused a lot of uproar. In fact, the presiding officer the day could not even control the situation. You had to reconvene the following day. So for someone who has been in the National Assembly for these years, and the reaction of your colleagues to the electoral amendment, how do you feel as a presiding officer, as the number one man above me? Of course, he's one above, amongst equals. But the issue is that your colleagues were not happy with those two major pieces of legislation, the electoral amendment bill. They don't think that it represents their will and their stand.
Yeah, I don't feel like, I feel that democracy at work, and I don't know of any assembly whether in Nigeria or outside of Nigeria, that you don't have situations or issues that will come up and there will be divergent views. I mean, you cannot all be on the same page at the same time, particularly in a country like Nigeria, where we're so diverse in terms of our ethnicity, our culture, and our interests. There's no country like that in the world you wouldn't have any such. So to expect anything short of that, particularly on two key pieces of legislation, will be asking for, will be unrealistic.
But sitting in that chair that day, how did you feel when you saw the uproar?
Again, I felt, those who were clamoring for a particular provision had every reason to clamor for what they were clamoring for, and those who were against had every reason to. So it's about consensus building.
I was talking about your own personal feeling that day when the center could not hold, and your colleagues went into the deep of the chamber, and things got out of hand. How did you feel?
Well, I felt, well, after 2 years, it's about time. It's about time. After 2 years, it's about time that we had a bit of activity in the national. Like I said at the beginning of this interview, we had such an harmonious relationship. The lines between the parties were a little bit blurred, and so it's time for us to all remember that there are different parties and different interests. The bottom line, the important thing is that let's all come together, build consensus at the end of the day, and put the national interest as a prime interest, and that's what we did. If you're talking about the electoral bill, what the House did was to maintain status quo in terms of what was brought to the floor of the House by the committee, to maintain what even the CSOs, civil society, and the outside world wanted, and which was what? Allow INEC to determine whether or not they have the capacity and capability to transmit results electronically. I think that was the main sticking provision. Again, in a law that is almost hundreds of sections. So we've allowed that, and we will go to, you understand the procedure more than anybody else. We will go to harmonization because the version passed by the Senate is different. There will be a committee set up by both the House and the Senate. They will look at the two differences and they'll come up with an agreement on which one to go with. I think we'll do that, when we resume.
You think the president will sign?
Well, the president is for very good reason, and we have tried to address those reasons. And you try to perfect a law as best as you can. That's why in the Constitution it's embedded that a president has a right to veto a bill. It's an American Constitution, it's a Nigerian Constitution, it's in almost every constitution you can think of. Otherwise, if the president does not have a right to veto a bill, it wouldn't be there. So the president reserves the right to say, I'm not signing this bill because I don't think you've averted your mind to such and such and such a thing. Lawmaking is about, in fact, it's about 3 arms of government. I was going to say 2, the legislative and the executive. I'll even say, I'll go as far as saying 3, because at the end of the day, the judiciary will interpret that law as the way they want to interpret it. So it involves 3 arms of government, and that's the president's role, is to either veto or to sign. And I believe he will sign, but then again, if he doesn't, he will give reasons for not signing, and will address those reasons.
But if it doesn't sign, for someone who says he wants to leave a good legacy of good elections in Nigeria, would you be disappointed?
No, depending on the reason he gives. Look,
how can he leave a legacy when he refuses to sign a bill?
Well, if he when you refuse to sign a bill, it's better you don't sign a bill that has fundamental. You're trying to address a problem, and then you create even more serious problems. You're better off, you don't sign for the sake of signing because you want to leave a legacy. The legacy you want to leave has to be enduring. So if he doesn't sign, it'll be because this is not going to leave an enduring legacy. Go and fix this. And we'll look at it. We'll look at what he says, and we'll determine whether it's right or wrong. There's a procedure, constitutional procedure. If the National Assembly still disagrees, then you can override the veto. And if we agree with him, how long does it take to correct?
Let me take you out of
the perspective from an international perspective, anywhere in the world. When you're in opposition, you have a stronger voice. Whether the party still has enough following to win the next election, I personally, and without any doubt in my mind, believe so.
that Nigerians will still support your party?
I believe so. You know, there's a lot of noise with all a holistic picture. I think the APC still stands a very good chance and will do well in the next elections. And if you want to dissect it state by state, you can't come to any other result but that.
All right, let's bring it home. Speaker, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, tell me, what's your plan after your time as Speaker of the House of Representatives? You planning to become Governor of Lagos?
You know, that provoked a smile. No, I don't have any such plans. I have no immediate plans. I have a job that I'm doing right now. It's a very tough job, very, very tough. Sometimes the most difficult job, I say to people in the world. And people don't understand it, but this is not the forum where I'm going to break it down. So I don't want distractions. I'm working as a Speaker of the House of Representatives with a lot of responsibilities on my shoulders right now. Any other thing would be a distraction. As for Lagos State governorship, not even thought about it. Why? Yeah, and why? The present governor of Lagos State is doing a good job. Why? Well, the fact that we had a one-time governor at one time doesn't mean it's going to be the same forever. The president is doing that. The governor is doing a good job. Under the circumstances, he's had difficult times in these last 2 years, and he's come out, I think, well. So for me, why upset the apple cart? I think he's doing a good job. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the future portends for everybody. We can't sit here today and predict tomorrow.
Not only in the future, do you think you can be Governor of Lagos?
The future is what it is. The future, you know, you leave all those things in the hands of the person that decides the future for everybody.
On the final note, in your time in being a lawmaker and in being in politics, what would you like to be remembered for?
What would I like to be remembered for? I'd like to be remembered as a legislator who came, rose through the ranks, made history as the first minority leader, opposition leader, as the first legislator to occupy the position of minority leader of the House and Speaker, and did something with it. And worked assiduously to make Nigeria a better place. The work of the legislator is extremely difficult, but then not me. I don't me as a person, but the Ninth Assembly. I want the Ninth Assembly to be remembered for a house that came and saw, and if you like, conquered.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, it's a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
This is NBN Network Media, news for all races, connecting you to the world.